Dogs saving the helpless. Incredible stories of loyalty and bravery. Part 1. A guardian's instinct. Dogs are more than just pets. They are guardians, protectors, and in moments of danger, they become heroes. Throughout history, there have been countless stories of dogs saving children, shielding the elderly, and sensing danger before it strikes. Whether it's pulling a drowning child from a river, standing between a stranger and an elderly owner, or barking relentlessly to alert a family of impending disaster, dogs have repeatedly proven that they are more than man's best friend. They are lifesavers. This series will explore the most unbelievable real-life stories of dogs stepping up when no one else could. In Part 1, we begin with the story of a little girl, a freezing lake, and a dog who refused to let her go. The icy river and the German shepherd that wouldn't let go. In a small town in Michigan, winter had turned the landscape into a frozen wonderland. Snow blanketed the streets, and the local river had turned into a sheet of thick ice. Parents warned their children to stay away from the riverbanks. But curiosity is a dangerous thing for young minds. On a crisp afternoon, 5-year-old Emily Parker was playing with her older brother near the river. The two had been tossing snowballs, laughing as they watched the soft powder explode in the air. But then, in a single moment, everything changed. Emily, excited to pick up more snow, stepped too close to the frozen river. Beneath the thin ice, water still flowed. Before her brother could warn her, there was a loud crack, and then she was gone. The moment of terror. The ice gave way beneath Emily's feet, and she plunged into the frigid water. Her brother screamed, scrambling toward the river, but the ice was too unstable for him to get close. Emily surfaced, gasping for air, her little hands flailing against the water's icy grip. The current began pulling her further under. She screamed, but the river swallowed her cries. No one was close enough to reach her, but someone was watching. Bruno, the Parker family's German shepherd, had been standing at a distance, keeping an eye on the children as he always did. And the moment Emily fell, Bruno didn't hesitate. The leap that saved a life. Before Emily's brother could react, Bruno charged across the ice, his paws pounding against the frozen surface. The moment he reached the hole where Emily had fallen, he leapt into the freezing water. Emily was sinking fast, her tiny limbs growing numb. The shock of the cold had already begun shutting her body down. But then, something strong and warm grabbed her by the collar of her jacket. Bruno's powerful jaws clamped down, and with sheer force, he pulled her upward, keeping her head above water. Emily coughed, gasping for air as Bruno paddled furiously toward the edge of the ice. The current was strong, trying to drag them both under. But Bruno refused to let go. Every instinct in his body screamed at him to save her. He didn't just swim, he fought. The final pull to safety. Emily's brother had run toward the nearest house. Screaming for help, neighbors rushed to the riverbank, some bringing ropes, others grabbing long sticks in a desperate attempt to reach the child and her dog. By the time help arrived, Bruno had already dragged Emily to the river's edge, his paws kicking against the ice to push her up. A man rushed forward, reaching out, and together they pulled Emily to safety. The little girl collapsed in her rescuer's arms, shivering violently but alive. Bruno, his fur soaked and frozen, pulled himself onto the bank, shaking the icy water from his body. Then, as if making sure she was truly safe, he laid down beside her, resting his head on her chest. He wouldn't leave her side. Not now. Not ever. The aftermath. A town's gratitude. Emily was rushed to the hospital, where doctors treated her for hypothermia. They said that if Bruno had hesitated even for a few more seconds, she wouldn't have survived. News of the rescue spread quickly, and Bruno became a local hero. The mayor awarded him a medal for bravery, and the Parker family held a special ceremony, giving him his favorite treats and an engraved collar that read, "Bruno, a true guardian." But for Bruno, he didn't care about medals or ceremonies. All that mattered was that Emily was safe. And every day after that, he continued to watch over her, never letting her out of his sight. Because that's what true protectors do. Part 2. The Labrador that saved an elderly woman from a home invasion. Dogs have an extraordinary ability to sense danger before it happens. Their instincts are sharper than ours. Their awareness heightened beyond human perception. And sometimes, those instincts are the only things standing between life and death. In this chapter, we explore the incredible story of Charlie, a Labrador retriever who protected his elderly owner from an intruder before anyone else even realized the danger was near. This is a story of courage, intelligence, and the unbreakable bond between a dog and the person he swore to protect. An ordinary night turns dangerous. Eleanor Whitmore had lived in the same house for over 40 years. At 72 years old, she was a widow, spending her days gardening, knitting, and reading mystery novels by the fire. But most importantly, she had Charlie, a 5-year-old black Labrador retriever who had been her faithful companion since the death of her husband. Charlie was more than just a pet. He was her shadow. He followed Eleanor everywhere, from the kitchen to the backyard, always keeping an eye on her. She never felt alone, never felt unsafe, until one stormy night, when everything changed. The warning signs. It was past midnight when Charlie suddenly stood up from his usual spot by the fireplace. His ears perked, body tense. Eleanor, dozing off in her armchair, woke up at the sound of his low, rumbling growl. "What's wrong, boy?" she whispered, rubbing her eyes. Charlie didn't respond. He just stared at the front door, his fur bristling. Then, she heard it. A faint rustling outside, a soft click of the gate opening, and finally, the unmistakable sound of a window being forced open. Fear gripped Eleanor's chest. She lived alone. No one was supposed to be outside. Charlie, however, was already moving. The intruder enters. A man in dark clothing climbed through the side window, stepping into the dimly lit living room. He had expected an easy target, an elderly woman living alone. An old house. No security system. But he had not expected Charlie. The moment the intruder's foot hit the floor, Charlie launched himself forward, letting out a deep, ferocious bark that shook the walls. The man stumbled back in shock. He had underestimated the dog. Before he could react, Charlie bit down hard on the man's arm, his powerful jaws clamping onto the thick jacket sleeve. The intruder yelped, trying to shake Charlie off, but the Labrador refused to let go. Eleanor calls for help. Shaking, Eleanor grabbed the phone and dialed 911. "My dog, he's attacking someone in my house. There's a man in my house," she gasped. Charlie continued growling and biting, forcing the man back toward the window he had entered through. The intruder tried to swing at him, but Charlie dodged, snapping at his legs, blocking every escape route except one. The burglar panicked. This was not worth it. Desperate to escape, he threw himself back out the window and disappeared into the night. Charlie let out one last warning bark, standing tall at the window, ensuring the man was really gone. Then, panting, he turned back to Eleanor. She fell to her knees, wrapping her arms around her protector, sobbing into his fur. "You saved me," she whispered. Charlie licked her cheek, as if to say, "I always will." The aftermath. A town celebrates a hero. When the police arrived minutes later, they found signs of forced entry, confirming Eleanor's story. But the man himself? He was long gone. However, a few days later, an injured man with deep bite wounds on his arm was arrested in a nearby town, caught attempting another robbery. The officers quickly connected the dots. They told Eleanor that without Charlie, the situation could have been much worse. The town rallied around Charlie, hailing him as a hero. The local newspaper featured a headline, "Loyal Labrador saves elderly woman from home invasion." Neighbors brought him treats. The mayor awarded him a medal for bravery, and the local pet store even gifted him a lifetime supply of his favorite food. But for Charlie, none of that mattered. All he cared about was Eleanor. And from that night on, he never left her side, not even for a second. A lesson in loyalty. Charlie's story is proof that a dog's love is more than just companionship. It is protection, devotion, and an unshakable instinct to keep their loved ones safe. Because for a dog, protecting their owner is not a choice. It's simply who they are. Part 3. The stray dog who saved an abandoned baby. Not all heroes wear capes. Some have fur, 4 legs, and no home to call their own. This is the story of a stray dog who had nothing, no family, no shelter, no warm bed to sleep in, yet risked everything to save a helpless newborn left alone in the freezing cold. It is a reminder that love and bravery are not exclusive to humans, and that sometimes the forgotten ones can become the most extraordinary heroes. A silent cry in the darkness. It was a bitterly cold night in Buenos Aires, Argentina. The streets were nearly empty, the city asleep under the pale glow of streetlights. For most, it was just another winter night. But for Wei, a stray dog who roamed the alleyways searching for food, it would be the night that changed everything. Wei had lived on the streets for as long as anyone could remember. She had no owner, no collar, no warm place to rest. But she had something more important than all of that, a mother's instinct. Because Wei was not alone. She had just given birth to a litter of puppies, hidden safely in a small shelter she had made out of scraps. She was hungry, cold, and exhausted, but she was still a mother. And that instinct, that overwhelming drive to protect the helpless, was about to save a life that was not her own. The abandoned newborn. Somewhere in the darkness, a baby was crying. A newborn, no more than a few hours old, had been abandoned in an alleyway, left wrapped in only a thin blanket, exposed to the freezing wind. No one heard the cries. No one, except Wei. She was foraging for food when she picked up the weak, desperate sound of a baby struggling to survive. Most humans had walked past that alley, unaware. But Wei did not walk away. She did something no one could have expected. A mother's instinct in action. Wei rushed to the baby, sniffing and nudging the tiny, shivering form with her nose. The infant's skin was ice cold. His breathing was shallow. Wei did not hesitate. With the same instinct that told her to care for her own puppies, she made a decision, one that would mean the difference between life and death. She did the only thing she knew how to do to keep the baby warm. She carried him, gently, to her den, the night that saved a life. One by one, Wei's puppies huddled around the newborn, their tiny bodies pressed against his fragile frame. And Wei? She curled herself around him, just as she did with her own babies, shielding him from the bitter cold with her own body heat. She kept him warm. She kept him safe. And through the long, freezing night, she refused to let him go. The morning discovery. The next morning, a woman living nearby heard an unusual sound coming from the alley. At first, she assumed it was just Wei and her puppies. But as she stepped closer, she saw something that sent shivers down her spine. Wei was lying in a tight circle around something that wasn't a puppy. It was a baby. Her eyes widened in shock as she realized the truth. This stray dog had rescued an abandoned child and kept him warm all night. Heart pounding. She called the police immediately. A miracle in the cold. The paramedics arrived within minutes. They quickly examined the baby, expecting the worst. But to their astonishment, despite being left alone in near-freezing temperatures, the infant was alive and stable. His tiny body was still warm, thanks to Wei and her puppies. Doctors later confirmed that without Wei's actions, the baby would have never survived the night. It was nothing short of a miracle. The town's new hero. News of Wei's incredible rescue spread quickly. She was no longer just a stray dog. She was a hero. Animal shelters and rescue groups stepped in, offering to give her and her puppies a safe home. People from across the city donated food, supplies, and medical care to ensure she would never have to suffer on the streets again. And the baby? He was placed under the care of social services, eventually adopted by a loving family. A family that would one day tell him the story of the dog who saved his life. A love that knows no boundaries. Wei's story is a testament to the instinct, love, and compassion that animals possess. She had no reason to care for the baby. She was struggling to survive herself. But she did not see a human or a stranger. She saw a helpless life. And for her, that was enough. Because love, the kind of love that protects, nurtures, and saves, does not belong to one species. It belongs to all. Part 4. The golden retriever that saved a family from a deadly gas leak. Dogs have an incredible sense of smell, far more powerful than that of humans. They can detect things we cannot see, Fear danger before it arrives, and even sense life-threatening conditions. This is the story of Bailey, a golden retriever who saved his entire family from an invisible killer, one they never even knew was in their home. It is a story of instinct, love, and how one dog's persistence prevented an unimaginable tragedy. A quiet suburban evening. The Miller family lived in a quiet suburban neighborhood in Denver, Colorado. Their home was cozy, filled with laughter, love, and one loyal companion, Bailey, their 6-year-old golden retriever. Bailey was more than just a pet. He was family. He had been with the Millers since he was a puppy, growing up alongside their 2 children, Emma, 10, and Ryan, 7. He was their protector, their playmate, and their best friend. But on one ordinary winter evening, Bailey became something even greater. He became their savior, the invisible danger. It had been a long day, and the Millers were winding down for the night. Emma and Ryan were already in bed. Their parents, Mark and Lisa, relaxing in the living room. Bailey, usually curled up at their feet, was acting strangely. He kept pacing the room, sniffing the air, whining softly. At first, Mark thought Bailey needed to go outside. But when he opened the door, Bailey refused to go out. Instead, he ran to the children's bedrooms, pushing against the doors, whining louder. Lisa frowned. That's weird. He never acts like this. Bailey was growing frantic, scratching at the floor, pacing faster. Then, he did something he had never done before. He bit Lisa's sleeve and tugged. It wasn't playful. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate. And that's when everything started to make sense. The realization that saved their lives. Lisa suddenly felt lightheaded. Her head was spinning, her vision blurred. Mark stumbled slightly as he stood up, gripping the side of the couch. Then, it hit them. The air in the house felt thick, suffocating. And Bailey? He was still pulling Lisa toward the front door. Then, she remembered something she had seen on the news, how dogs could detect carbon monoxide poisoning before humans even realized what was happening. Her heart pounded. Could that be what was happening right now? The race against time. Lisa didn't hesitate. She grabbed the kids, rushing them outside, Mark following close behind. Bailey herded them onto the porch, refusing to let them turn back. The moment they stepped outside, the fresh air hit them like a wave, clearing their heads, making them realize just how dangerously close they had come to losing consciousness. Mark called 911 immediately. When emergency responders arrived, their worst fears were confirmed. A gas leak in their heating system had filled the house with carbon monoxide, a silent, odorless killer. Had they stayed inside for just a few more minutes, they would have fallen asleep and never woken up. Bailey's sixth sense. The firefighters were in awe. Your dog saved your lives, one of them told Mark. They explained that carbon monoxide poisoning is nearly impossible to detect without alarms, which, unfortunately, the Millers did not have installed. But Bailey had sensed it. He had smelled something wrong in the air, felt his humans getting weaker, and acted before it was too late. Without him, the Millers would have become another tragic statistic. Instead, they were alive because of Bailey. A hero's reward. Bailey became a local hero overnight. The Millers shared his story with the news, and soon, their golden retriever's face was everywhere. A pet store gifted him a lifetime supply of treats. The local fire department honored him with a hero's medal, and the mayor even declared it Bailey the Dog Day in their town. But for Bailey, none of that mattered, because when he looked at his family, all safe and smiling, he knew he had done his job, a lesson for every household. Bailey's story is more than just a heartwarming tale. It is a wake-up call. His actions remind us that dogs can sense dangers we cannot see or smell. Every home should have carbon monoxide detectors installed. Listening to a dog's unusual behavior can be the difference between life and death. The Millers learned a lesson they would never forget. And thanks to Bailey, they were alive to share it. Part 5. The pit bull that shielded a toddler from a house fire. Not all heroes wear capes. Some have fur, unwavering courage, and a heart that puts others before themselves. This is the story of Sasha, a pit bull who risked everything to save a toddler from a house fire, proving once again that dogs are not just pets, but protectors, warriors, and family. It is a story of sacrifice, instinct, and the kind of love that never hesitates, even in the face of danger. A quiet night before the fire. It was a warm summer evening in Stockton, California. The Chai family, a young mother named Latana and her 7-month-old baby, Misela, were settling down for the night. Their home was small but full of love, and Latana felt safe knowing she had Sasha, her 1-year-old pit bull, by her side. Sasha had been part of the family since she was a puppy, growing up alongside Misela, forming a bond so deep that wherever the baby went, Sasha followed. They were more than just a dog and a child. They were inseparable. But that night, something happened that would test the strength of their bond in a way no one could have expected. The warning that saved them. At around midnight, Latana was just about to fall asleep when she heard something strange. A loud, frantic scratching at the back door. Then, barking. Loud, desperate, and relentless. It was Sasha. At first, Latana was confused. Sasha was normally a quiet dog, never barking without reason. But tonight, she was hysterical. Something was wrong. Latana rushed to the door and opened it, only to see Sasha jumping against the doorframe, whining, eyes filled with panic. Then, Latana noticed something even worse. Thick smoke was creeping into the house. Her heart stopped. She turned her head toward the neighbor's house, and to her horror, she saw it. Flames, raging through the structure, quickly spreading toward their own home. Fire. And it was coming for them. The unbelievable rescue. Latana raced toward Misela's room, her hands shaking, adrenaline surging through her veins. But before she could reach the crib, Sasha was already there. The pit bull had pushed open the bedroom door and was inside, standing over the baby. And then, in a moment that defied belief, Sasha grabbed Misela by her diaper and began pulling her out of the crib, not biting too hard, not hurting her, just enough to lift her to safety. Latana gasped. She had never seen anything like it. Sasha was rescuing her baby. Without waiting, Latana grabbed Misela from Sasha's jaws and ran. She scooped up Sasha too, pushing through the smoke-filled hallway and out into the night air. Seconds later, the flames reached their house. Had they waited even a moment longer, the fire would have trapped them inside. Sasha had saved them just in time. A hero that refused to leave. Outside, neighbors were waking up, running into the streets as firefighters arrived, battling the roaring flames. Latana held her baby tightly, her mind racing. She turned to Sasha, still panting, her body tense, watching the house as if prepared to go back inside. Latana realized something. Sasha had known about the fire before anyone else. She had sensed it, seen it coming, and instead of running away, she ran straight toward danger to save her family. After the fire, a newfound respect for pit bulls. By morning, the house was unlivable, but Latana and her baby were safe. And it was all because of Sasha. News of the pit bull's heroic act spread quickly, and soon, reporters, animal lovers, and even firefighters praised her courage. People who had once feared pit bulls now saw something different, not a dangerous breed, but a loving protector. A hero. Sasha was given a hero's medal, countless treats, and a new home filled with love and gratitude. But for her, none of it mattered, because her family was alive. That was the only reward she ever wanted. The power of a dog's love. Sasha's story is more than just an act of bravery. It is proof that dogs sense danger before we do. Their loyalty knows no limits. When the moment comes, they will not hesitate to protect the ones they love. Many people believe that pit bulls are aggressive and dangerous, but Sasha proved that love is stronger than any stereotype. Because in the end, dogs do not care about fear or fire. They care about family, and they will do anything to keep them safe. What this series has taught us, from pulling drowning children from frozen lakes to sensing invisible gas leaks, from fighting off home intruders to shielding babies from fire, dogs have proven time and time again that they are more than just animals. They are lifesavers. They are guardians. They are family. And as long as they are by our side, we are never truly alone. These incredible stories prove that dogs have an instinct to protect and save the ones they love. Their bravery, loyalty, and selflessness make them more than just pets. They are family. If this video touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. Do you have a story of a heroic dog? Share it in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you.